Hello and welcome to another episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 89, and I'm recording on June 8th, 2025. I watched the movie on June 4th. It was a busy weekend, didn't have time to record. And the movie in question was The Grand Illusion, or La Grande Illusion in French. La Grande Illusion. I don't know. I'm not French. So this one is a French film. It actually is a 1937 French film, where in the 1938 Oscars, my assumption, and maybe it'll say in the Wikipedia, I haven't looked yet, but maybe my assumption is that, it came out in France in 1937 and then was released in the US in 1938. So this one, when I had looked things up on where to find these movies, said it was available on Daily Motion, which is a free website. I often find movies on there for this. And it was not a lie. The movie was on Daily Motion, but the movie is entirely in French. And the subtitles on the Daily Motion version were in Spanish. I don't know if there were different settings or anything. I didn't really look, but obviously that didn't really work. So I was kind of scrambling to find another way to watch it. I looked on Amazon, I looked on eBay, and a lot of the versions, like on Amazon or eBay, were not region 1, which is US region for DVDs. I did find one that was fairly inexpensive, like $5 with a few dollars shipping, from South Korea, that said it was region 0, which I guess is a all-encompassing DVD that can play on any region player. But it said it wasn't going to come till like end of June or early July. This is the second to last movie in the 1938 Oscars, so I just have one more plus the snubbed movie, and I really want to get through these. I didn't want to wait that long. So I resorted to a site that I've been trying to avoid. I have used it a couple times. The first time just sort of because it was available, but then after that, just sort of in desperate times. And that is OK.ru, which is a Russian site, almost like it's a social media type site, but there's a lot of movies uploaded to it. And most of the versions on Amazon or eBay were a 75th anniversary re-release of it on DVD. So my assumption is that this was the version on OK.ru was from that, because it was a pretty good copy. It looked very good, sounded good, everything. So it was a bit of a journey to find it. That when I finally, by the night I decided to watch, by the time I actually, figured out what I was going to do, I was only able to watch about 20 minutes. And I think I watched another 20 minutes the next day. And then the day after that, I was off and I watched about maybe another 40 minutes or so. And then later that day, I think on the 4th, I just finished it. But because I didn't really want to mess around with like watching through this Russian site on a computer, I don't know if the phone's any better, but I decided to just watch it on my phone. And the first night I watched, I was casting it to my living room television, but that wasn't available the other times I watched. So I was just watching on my phone. And what I found was, because I was on my phone, and you can do like the picture in picture window, but because I was on my phone, I couldn't really go on my phone like I often do when I watch movies these days. And so I was paying much more attention to the movie. And at first I didn't really think I was going to like it. Partly just I obviously don't mind foreign movies or subtitled movies, things like that, but I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't going to like this one, but I did very much. The only couple of things that I would point out as sort of negatives, and this is something of the time probably, but the music was super melodramatic and did not fit with the movie at all. I don't know what music they were using, but it felt like they were just using pieces of already written music and inserting it into scenes where it didn't really fit. Nowadays a composer will write for the scene in a movie, and sometimes the music will sort of flow with the action. It'll slow down in a slower moment and speed up and get louder and softer depending on what's happening in the movie. Whereas this was just loud, through every scene when there actually was music. And it was supposed to be like sort of dramatic scenes, like armies marching and stuff. But then it would cut to something that just didn't really fit with the music. And so it was a bit distracting. The other thing with the cuts was it was just very random and fast fade outs from one scene to another. Not like, where you would maybe nowadays just cut from one scene to the next, especially when things are happening sort of in tandem, but they would fade out. And it was just a weird, like sort of jarring way to do it. So a couple of very minor points, but they were things that stood out to me that I took notes while I was watching. So Wikipedia, Le Grand Illusion, French for The Grand Illusion, is a 1937 French war drama film directed by Jean Renoir, who co-wrote the screenplay with Charles Spack. The story concerns class relationships among a small group of French officers who are German prisoners of war during World War I and are plotting an escape. And there was, so it was mostly in French. There was also some German and there was also some English at times, but the version I was able to find on the OK.ru was all English subtitles. The title of the film comes from the 1909 book, The Great Illusion by British journalist Norman Angell, which argue that war is futile because of the common economic interests of all European nations. The perspective of the film is generously humanistic to its characters of various nationalities. Le Grand Illusion is regarded by critics and film historians as one of the masterpieces of French cinema and among the greatest films ever made. Orson Welles named Le Grand Illusion as one of the 2 movies he would take with him on the Ark. Director and producer Sidney Pollack picked Le Grand Illusion as one of his 10 favorite films of all time. Produced by Albert Pinkovich, Frank Rollmer, starring John Gavin, Tita Parlo, Pierre Fresnay, Eric von Stroheim, and more. Cinematography, Christian Matras. Edited by Marguerite Renoir. Music by Joseph Cosma. Production company, Realization d'Art, Cinematographique. Also distributed by them. Release date, June 8th, 1937. Runtime 114 minutes. There's a lot of information in the Wikipedia that I won't read. Martin Scorsese included it on a list of 39 essential foreign films for a young filmmaker. Orson Welles in an interview with Dick Cavett on July 27, 1970, expressed that if he could only save a handful of films that were not his own for future posterity, this would be one of those films. Film critic Roger Ebert also reviewed the film after its 1999 re-release and added it to his list of the great movies. Filmmakers such as Akira Kurosawa and Billy Wilder cited Le Grand Illusion as one of their favorite films. Woody Allen picked it as one of his top 10. For many years, the original nitrate film negative of Le Grand Illusion was thought to have been lost in an Allied air raid in 1942 that destroyed a leading laboratory outside Paris. Prints of the film were rediscovered in 1958 and restored and re-released during the early 1960s. Then it was revealed that the original negative had been shipped back to Berlin, probably due to the efforts of Frank Hensel, to be stored in the Reichsfilm Archive vaults. In the Allied occupation of Berlin in 1945, the Reichsfilm Archive, by chance, was in the Russian zone and consequently shipped along with many other films back to the basis of the Soviet Film Archive in Moscow. The negative was returned to France in the 1960s, but sat unidentified in storage for over 30 years as no one suspected it had survived. It was rediscovered in the early 1990s as the Cinematheque's nitrate collection was being slowly transferred to the French Film Archives. In August 1999, Rialto Pictures re-released the film in the United States based on the Cinematheque negative found in Toulouse. After watching the new print at Lincoln Plaza Cinemas, Janet Maslin called it beautifully refurbished and especially lucid. Transfer of this restored print was released on DVD by the Criterion Collection in 1999 as Spine Number 1. It has been out of print since 2005. Grand Illusion was intended to be Criterion's first release on the DVD format in 1998, but the discovery of the new negative delayed its release. In 2012, Studio Canal and Lionsgate released a 1080p Blu-ray version based on a new high-definition scan of the original negative. According to Lee Klein, technical director of the Criterion Collection, this release was night and day of what we did because they had better film. Its only nomination at the Oscars was Best Picture, which it didn't win, but it was very good. It's been a little bit since I watched one of the other movies here. The Citadel was the last one. I don't remember liking that one. This has been a good round of movies. It really was. I think The Citadel may have been the first one that I didn't really like. But this one brings me back. So I'm hoping that the last one, You Can't Take It With You, is good. But yeah, this Grand Illusion was, reading more about it now. I can see that the class thing. There was a German soldier that was sort of ran the prison one of the prisons that they were moved to. And I had written down he was a German dude with a weird neck brace. And they explained later that he had been like burned and he had spine problems. And so he had this kind of crazy neck brace on. And he would always talk with one of the higher French officers, but sort of speak down on the other French soldiers. And partly because they had Jewish names, or at least one of them did. But him being, accepting of the higher ranking French officer sort of led to the demise of that. And and the escape, because that French officer was assisting in the escape and kind of created a distraction. And the German officer was forced to kill him. Spoilers. And then there was just all different relationship. And then it sort of turned into a different, once they escaped, then they hid out at a woman's farm and the one soldier sort of fell in love with her. And it was just all around a really good movie. And it's unfortunate that I sort of had to watch it broken up into parts, but when I was able to watch the larger sections, I really did enjoy it. So it was very good. And like I said, not easy to find. You can watch it on the Russian site. I don't necessarily recommend that. But if you have more time and you want to get it on DVD, you could order it from eBay from a South Korean somebody. So it was free for me because I watched it on the Russian site. So far, my average per movie this round is $3.25. Pretty good. So with that, there is one more movie left in this round and then a snubbed movie. And we'll be on to 1939. So I'm hoping I can get through those soon. To you, it'll just be a couple of days, but for me, hopefully less than a week before I can watch the next one. So I'll leave you at that. See you next time.